Destruction, but precious little action to stop the killings in Wajir and Mandera. Tonight, we tell you why this conflict has an impact on you. The Bottom Line Extra starts now. Good evening, I'm John Alanamu, and this is a special broadcast that all Kenyans need to sit up and pay attention to. At least 18 people have been killed in less than a week in the latest conflict in Wajir. Thousands of people are now displaced, their homes have been burnt, and fear, sickness, and uncertainty now rule their lives. This conflict is taking place across two of Kenya's most expansive counties, and up to now, there has been little action by the government to bring this fighting to an end. The conflict I'm speaking of course, is that between the Degodia and the Gare clans of the Somali community, and its epicenter has now moved from Mandera to Wajir County. This is the Bottom Line Extra, and we want you to understand the bottom line in this conflict that has raged for far longer than you may think. Now joining us live to help us to let you in on what's going on in the north is the governor of Wajir, Ahmed Abdullahi. He'll be joining us shortly. And joining us on phone from Mandera County, also joining us shortly, is the governor, Ali Roba. But in studio with me is the head of disaster operations for the Kenya Red Cross, seated in the middle of my panel here, Mahdi Mohammed, as well as author and economist and author of the book Blood on the Runway, Sheikh beg your pardon. Salah Abdi Sheikh, sorry about that. It's been a while. Salah Abdi Sheikh, thank you for joining us on the program. And to my far left, we have Hassan Ismail. He's also a conflict analyst. And of course, your input on the bottom line is important to us. So tweet us using the hashtag KTNBottomLine. You can also send in your questions, and I'll ask them to our guests, but send us your comments as well. Now, just before we get into it, we have to set the scene. We've been covering the Wajir-Mandera conflict in depth since this recent flare-up from Nairobi and on the ground in Wajir and in Mandera. Our team of Ian Wafula, Faisal Mohammed, and Tony Biwat are still in Wajir doing so, and will be getting their input on what is going on the ground there in a few moments. But to set the stage for our discussion, watch this piece done by Ian Wafula on the humanitarian crisis that currently has Wajir in its grips.
Occasional gunshots fill the air as police try to disperse a section of youth in the area to prevent them from torching houses and looting businesses. A number of them get arrested. A child is left nursing injury from a stray bullet. The clashes, said to be as a result of a border dispute, has affected hundreds of families from both communities. 1.5 hours out of Wajir is a little town by the name Tarabaj. It is situated a few kilometers from Gunana village, where gunmen stormed and killed the 12. Tarabaj has now become a safe haven for nearly 1,000 people displaced by the fighting, among them mothers and children forced to leave their houses in the middle of the night. Mama Fatuma is too weak and traumatized after she escaped death by a whisker. Her brother was, however, not lucky. He was shot dead. On the other hand, Ilma Mohammed is a mother of 6, and now she will also have to take care of 4 of her brother's children and her mother-in-law.
Nasema hapo tulipo tuko na shida nyingi, and watoto hawana mahali pa kulala, na tunaomba serikali kama itaweza itusaidie.
Kusema kweli wametoka mahali walikuwako wakakuja area karibu mahali ngine inaitwa Sarman.
The area chief says he is heavily burdened by the numbers of displaced persons, and even the help of the Kenya Red Cross Society and county government is not enough to save the situation.
Hakuna chakula, maji kwanza shida tena. Ile kitu nasumbua ni watu wangu vile wanahangaika tu hapa, wanatolewa kutoka kwao. Wamekuja bila manyumba zao, wamekuja bila mahali zao, wametenganishwa.
The numbers here are expected to increase as more families are making their way to various camps within the county.
Hata leo hiko gari imetumwa upande wa wa Dunto ili wakipata watu wanatembea na mguu walete pande.
The county government has further donated some food to Kenya Red Cross. First dispatch for distribution will start tomorrow. At least food covering for affected people for 1 month. Kenya Red Cross also is chipping in to fill the gap of NFIs.
It is reported that a number of people have died on their way to the camps due to the harsh weather conditions, while others were saved in time. Baby Anissa here is 10 months old, and her mother says she's suffering from diarrhea. And this t-shirt is the only thing they were able to save while they were running away from home. Anissa is just among the many children here who are going through such a tough time. It is barely 24 hours since the burial of the 12 people who were killed at the height of the clashes, and it remains unclear if and how this crisis will be resolved. Ian Wafula, KTN.
That was the situation on the ground yesterday in Wajir County. But to start on what the situation is right now, I'll go to you, Mahdi Mohammed, of course. Thank you for joining us from the Red Cross. What is the situation on the ground as we speak in both Wajir and Mandera?
Thank you very much, Alan. As you have already shown up on the screens, currently the situation is really bad in terms of humanitarian situation, in terms of you look at the food security issues, when you look at the medication and total displacement as such. But just to give you a situation, historical, how things had been from last year. And the conflict started way back in last year, and it pitted between communities.
Yeah.
We have not seen that and registered over 7,385 displacements during the conflict in Mandera.
From last year to this year?
From last year alone.
Last year alone.
And over 453 houses completely burnt. Death of 95 people, and injuries of 75 who had been referred to different medical institutions.
Just to be clear again, this is just from Mandera alone.
That was
last
Mandera
year
alone last year.
Okay.
And the 75 people who had been injured, they had different, gun wounds. It's not machetes or anything. People have engaged in firearms and very sophisticated.
How about the conflict right now? How many lives has it claimed?
And currently, as we are speaking, and it has been confirmed 18 deaths in Wajir, and approximately about 1,150 households. That is translated to 69,900 displacement. We are carrying out an assessment with other interagencies and the county and government in Wajir to establish the numbers, and will give confirmed figures in the coming days.
All right, let's speak to the governor of Mandera, Ali Roba, who joins us on phone right now. Mr. Roba, thank you for joining us from Mandera. Now, I don't know if you heard the statistics that have just been given by a representative from the Red Cross here, Mr. Mahdi Mohammed, but right now the Red Cross's numbers are 18 people dead in both counties. Is this something that you can add to in terms of perhaps any statistics that your team may have collected from Mandera town?
Actually, the numbers, thank you very much, John. The numbers in Mandera, about 15 persons have died over the last 30 days.
15 people?
Yes, 15 people have. Most of it from actually from inside Mandera, and the rest from along the border with Wajir, but on the Kenyan, on the Mandera side.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that Mahdi mentioned from the last year's conflict, and I believe also this year's conflict, is the manner in which these people died, or rather the wounds that led to their deaths, gunshot wounds. Now, that really addresses the elephant in the room. Who is perpetrating these killings?
Well, this, John, I think you understand the dynamics of these pastoral communities along the border and the nature of pastoral conflict. What's happening is both communities in Wajir and in Mandera are armed. Because of armed operation across the border, and none is any less armed than the other group. What is happening is any time a conflict erupts, then they use ammunition to fight against each other. The traditional conflict was taking place. Unfortunately, this is going porous borders between us and Somalia.
Yeah, but to say that both communities are armed is a bit of a misnomer here. It's not everybody in that community, either Gare or Dagodia, that is armed. Are there two militias that exist both in Mandera and Wajir County?
There is nothing called militia that is organized that exists. What happens is the community has community for protection of their livestock and others. We have purchased these arms through the border. And whenever conflicts occur, each settlement goes into protection mode. And what happened recently in Gunanga was a result of an incident that happened a day before, where 4 people were killed and 78 camels, killed also with guns.
Now, these attacks may be retaliatory, but I refuse to believe that there are no militias, because we were on the ground last year and we've been speaking to people on the ground, both in Mandera and in Wajir, that there is a Gare and a Dagodia militia, well-armed, well-funded. Is this something that you have heard of and you can confirm, Mr. Robert?
Alan, I can categorically tell you that there are no organized militia from at least within Mandera County and Wajir County, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah.
What happens is whenever tribal conflict emerges, people, because all organized and all themselves to aid, themselves and the villages. And this is why it's happening. You will find an incident in along the border in between Wajir and Mandera at a place called Tintaro.
All right, just stay on the line, Governor. Stay on the line, Governor. I'll get back to you in a moment. I just want to throw your assertions to our panel here. Salah, you've heard what the Governor has said. Is there a militia or militias, to your knowledge, or is this really just as a result of the proliferation of arms in that county and everybody has one for self-defense?
I think we need to define what a militia is. If militia is a group of people who have been armed and who are willing to carry out attacks on behalf of their clan, I think militias exist. But if the militia is like whether there is an army, certain army sitting somewhere which is being fed, I don't think whether there is that kind of thing. But if militia is that kind of group, I believe it is. And they are being armed and they are being, as the conflict goes on, they'll become more formal and more powerful.
This current conflict,
yeah,
are there militias involved in this current conflict? To your understanding, the first understanding.
To my understanding, if militias are a group of people who are fighting on behalf of their clans, I think militias exist.
Hassan, how about you? Are there militias that are operating in Mandera and in Wajir as we speak?
I think the definition, as Salah has said, sums up everything. When we define a militia as a group of people carrying guns, for a day or a week when there is an issue and they are fighting, then they exist, because those ones are, every time there is an incursion and there is an episode and there is a problem, they regroup and they are able to arm themselves from wherever they are, and they regroup and cause attack or retaliate. But if you look at a militia from the conflict perspective, a militia is a structured, military group. They are informal, they don't belong to the government, but they have a lead, they have a commander, they have people who, ranks, they have
there is
system.
structure. There is structure in the people who are fighting.
That one that doesn't exist. That one doesn't exist. At the moment, in the two conflicts, every time is an ad hoc formation of groups. Whenever there is a problem, they tend to every group rallies behind its community.
Just hold that thought. I'd like to bring into this conversation the governor for Wajir, Mr. Ahmed Abdullahi. Thank you very much for joining us on phone. Unfortunately, I'm told that the connection that we had to see you tonight didn't quite work out, but thank you nonetheless. What we're discussing right now is the current situation on the ground. So we'll start with that. In your county, as at today, How many people dead? How many people injured?
As of today, I think if you're talking of this latest conflict, the one that started about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, thus far, 21 people from what we know. 21 people thereabouts, yeah.
All right. We need to go into a break right now, but we'll come back to that point, and you can expound more on what's going on the ground, as well as this question of the existence of two militias, structure of which we are arguing about right now. Mr. Robber, I hope you're still on the line. We'll take a short break, but when we come back, we've got some opinions of the people from the people on the ground about what's going on today, as well as a piece that we ran last year that challenges the myth that there are no militias in Wajir and in Mandera. KTN Bottom Line Extra returns in a short moment.